Welcome to Coronavirus, The Rundown. I'm Usher Qureshi. Each day we highlight how communities are taking on coronavirus. We also break down the major headlines. Today, a new idea of how many people get the virus and are symptom-free. The CDC estimates up to 35% of cases are asymptomatic, and that 40% of cases are transmitted before a person feels any symptoms. The CDC says the estimates are based on real data, but should only be used by health officials developing plans for different scenarios. They warn the numbers can change as more data comes in. Seriously ill coronavirus patients who take hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine are more likely to die or develop heart problems. That's according to a new study of more than 96,000 patients across the world. The drugs were created to treat malaria. They've been controversially pushed as a potential coronavirus treatment, but this study found no benefit in taking either drug by themselves or with an antibiotic. Farms across the country have been struggling with the pandemic. Alexa Liaco shows us how one farm got back on track with a little inspiration from an ice cream truck.
It's a sound from our childhood, one that usually means an ice cream truck is on its way.
Mabel's in the hood! Yeah.
But Mabel the farm truck in Colorado is offering treats with a little less sugar.
It's arugula and carrots and bags of kale instead of push-up pop and ice cream sandwiches.
This is for you.
Every day, Mabel delivers fresh produce from Black Cat Organic Farm and pre-made meals from the farm's restaurant right to families' driveways.
We're making guests happy. That's what we used to do, and that's what we do now. But of course, everything looks completely different.
This new recipe for business began when COVID-19 shut down the farm's 2 restaurants.
It was like a bomb went off. I laid off 30 employees. Everything came to a screeching halt.
Farm owner and chef Eric Skokin says letting his employees go was like losing family.
To see it all go is just sad and it's frightening. You know, within minutes, I was thinking, I can't let it happen. I have to go down fighting.
That fight started with throwing his normal business plan out the door.
It's kind of like Legos. You take it all apart and then you build it up into something totally new.
They opened up a farm stand and revved up Mabel, a produce delivery truck stopping for whomever waves her down.
Did you care for any fresh produce today, brother?
I was able to start grabbing all of the employees that I had laid off and bring them all in. Instead of the sommelier, now you drive a tractor or Mabel.
With his employees taking on new roles, the farm is reaching more people than ever before.
The kids have been talking about the cookie dough all nonstop. As a kid growing up, it was always like the thing you were listening for was the ice cream truck. And for now to be able to pass that on to my kids with a healthier option as well as during this time of crisis really presents a really unique experience.
This is fun. I told my whole neighborhood.
A moment of normalcy.
Don't tell Mom.
Mom!
Planting a seed of hope that this farm will survive.
Everything is different, but it's the core part of what feeds my soul, of who I am. Like that part is still happening.
I'm Alexa Liaco reporting.
Business experts say to help your family-owned business get back on track, think about limiting the number of products you offer to keep production costs low and get creative to bring your business to the customer at home. Well, a new survey shows the stresses parents feel right now. The American Psychological Association published its Stress in America report. The report says parents are feeling significantly more stressed than adults without children. The pressure comes from access to health care, missing milestones, and managing distance learning.
So they're basically doing 2 jobs. They're working remotely for their own job while trying to be the best teacher that they can be for their kids.
Parents are also more likely to stress about meeting basic needs like food and housing. 70% of parents said it was an issue versus 44% of non-parents. Another significant finding shows most Americans are concerned about the government response to the pandemic. That stress is across party lines and throughout the country. There was also a big jump in concern for the economy.
Might not be surprising that we saw such a spike when it comes to stress related to the economy, but it really is the highest that we've seen since 2007, 2008. We've really seen this slow decline of people's concerns about the economy, and clearly that's just no longer the case.
Normally, the APA conducts this survey once a year. Amid the coronavirus, they're now checking in with Americans every month. The APA hopes it will help policymakers with addressing mental health needs. Many of us are working from home, relying on the internet and websites to do our jobs. For some, it's not so easy. Joe Masiri looks at one company trying to make the web a little easier to navigate.
For many of us, getting around on the internet takes nothing more than a few keystrokes or a click of the mouse. During the pandemic, it's allowed us to shop for groceries, go to school, and manage our bank accounts. But for people like Lyndon Dunbar, who live with visual impairments, navigating inaccessible websites can be frustrating or even impossible. Something we all take for granted, like checking out online, isn't always easy.
Where a button may not be labeled properly, and I don't know if I'm canceling an order or if I'm completing an order, right?
Right now, Dunbar estimates that only about 10 or 20% of websites are accessible for people with disabilities.
Accessible main menu button.
But companies like AudioEye are trying to change that. CEO Heath Thompson says with people working from home or just sheltering in place, companies are starting to understand the importance of accessible websites.
I mean, I think everybody can really appreciate the need for digital accessibility is frankly, just think about, everything you probably do in today's life, including this interview, which is completely reliant on digital technology.
Dunbar, who works for AudioEye as a digital accessibility specialist, says making a website accessible means he can use it the way it was intended.
I can navigate by headings to jump across different sections of the page. When I come across an image, there's a description of the image. Completing a form, the form fields actually have labels to them, right? And I know what I'm inputting into certain fields.
And companies without compliant websites could find themselves in legal trouble. Courts have ruled that the internet is covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Former California Congressman Tony Coelho helped author the bill before it was passed. Today, he sits on the board for AudioEye.
So, in effect, the Supreme Court has ruled that the ADA is applicable to the internet. That's a huge success for us. And now we can educate the business community and others.
Thompson says AudioEye can retrofit websites or be part of the design process to create websites that are easy to use for people with visual, audio, and motor impairments to make sure everyone is able to access the internet.
Having that accessibility across a broad range of disabilities is really important. That's part of the challenge. These are some of the challenges that we solve at AudioEye.
In a post-COVID world, he says it's more important than ever.
Well, coronavirus is upending the wedding industry, with small virtual weddings being the trendy thing right now. How experts say couples and guests can make their day more personal. And a major university system will stop requiring SAT and ACT scores for admission for now. It's plans to expand on that in a few years.
Make a donation or volunteer today.
Coronavirus changed a lot of plans. Right now, we would have been in the middle of wedding season. Wedding Wire estimates about 500,000 weddings had been planned between the months of March and May. Now, a lot of those plans have been put on hold. Couples are getting by, holding mini ceremonies, which have been dubbed as mini-monies.
What we're actually noticing is that couples still want to celebrate that day, but they want that moment with their friends and loved ones that they can all celebrate together. So they're not just kind of throwing the reception out the door completely.
Many are going virtual and still getting married by an officiant. But by going virtual, it may feel a little less personal. Wedding experts say there are still a few things couples can do, even if they can't see their friends and family face to face.
Hey, you could also send each one of your loved ones maybe a little package, or if they live close to you, have your vendors send them a little, mini bouquet or cake.
Family and loved ones can still support the couple by sending dinner or even just a handwritten note on the original day of the wedding. Many are postponing their plans up to 2 years after their original date. Only about 7% of couples are leaving their plans as is. The pandemic has made it so we can't hang out with friends or go out to eat as easily as before, but scientists say this is affecting some people in an opposite way too. Chris Conti shows us the other side of being cooped up and ideas to help manage the pressure.
I'm extending my garden this year.
A once-in-a-lifetime pandemic has suddenly planted us into a dramatic shift of routines.
I've been going for a lot more walks.
Working in her garden, Mary Rose Steele reflects on the past few months of isolation. Some days with her 3 kids and husband prove more difficult than others.
I'd say the absolute hardest part is that we can't go and see our parents, so the kids can't see their grandparents, and they're really upset about that, and they really miss them.
We built like 3 rockets. Families across the country are having to take creativity to new heights to maintain sanity. Mary Rose has taken quarantine in stride. But like many moms, sometimes she just needs a minute.
This morning I took a break. I just walked out of the kitchen and didn't say anything to anybody and just went and took a shower.
We're spending a lot more time together than we used to.
That is Craig Smith. He's a psychology professor at Vanderbilt University. Even introverts, he says, are struggling with social isolation.
Yeah, what do you want?
My son is sort of introverted, and he tells me that his biggest problem with what's changed is we never go away.
For families or couples quarantining together nearly 24/7, Craig has this piece of advice for the tougher moments.
Reach out and talk to people. And when you talk to people about your struggles, one of the things you will often learn is that other people are having the same struggles.
Staying at home means something entirely different for Andrew Connor. He lives by himself in Seattle. His kitchen is his office, is also his gym. For this 32-year-old who was always on the go, this has been a tough transition.
This is usually my dinner table and coffee table all at once.
To keep himself focused, Andrew has created lists on his bathroom mirror, reminders of things to be grateful for. It's helped him stay grounded.
It's more of like the ultimate mental test. You're forced to slow down. You're forced to think about things.
I think trying to monitor your feelings as best you can is a good thing. And if you feel that you're feeling some sense of loneliness or a sense of loss because you're not talking with someone, reach out.
I'm getting to enjoy my kids. I do love them. There are hard days, but I love spending time with them.
Managing the pressure of this pandemic often means taking each day as it comes.
Ready, set, go.
I'm Chris Conti reporting.
Students applying for admission at the University of California system will no longer need to send ACT or SAT scores. The new rule applies until 2024. The university system president would like to eliminate the tests for all California students after that year. Instead, the university system will create its own admissions test. For years, critics have said the 2 tests are biased against minorities and students from low-income households, partly because they can't afford prep courses. Farmers warn issues with the meat supply have only just begun. Dan Grossman shows us why they're worried this will last months.
There is a discernible silence on Jim Magnuson's farm.
Trying to survive in the current market.
His calves aren't ready to be sold, so they're out at pasture feeding, making things here quiet. It's unexpected considering the current unrest in Jim's field of work.
The uncertainty every day in all the aspects of our life is great right now.
This is how most cattle farms across the country look right now, uproarious and overpacked as cattle ready to go to market have to wait because of a backlog in the system.
Yes, as we go back to normal, the rest of us in agriculture we're going to be feeling the effects for years to come.
COVID-19 hit meatpacking plants with a particular vengeance. When President Trump signed an executive order compelling them to stay open late last month, new cases of the virus exploded by 40% in counties with meatpacking plants compared to 19% nationally. It stymied production as some plants saw more than half of its workforce fall ill.
We had more cattle that we expected to be going to market that we had to feed and care for. And all of that has had added cost to the system and put more stress on the overall system.
Colin Woodall is CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a trade organization that represents more than 1 million of our country's cattle farmers. He says they've had to ration feed, make room for more head, and hope for a changing climate.
People can sometimes take drastic measures, and we don't want to see that happen. We need to make sure that they know that they've got somebody to talk to and that there is some hope at the end of the tunnel here.
The cattle industry isn't the only one being affected, but all livestock. Where they differ, however, is those farmers are feeling the effects now, whereas cattle owners won't feel the worst of the effects until down the road when cattle go to market.
We're mentally preparing ourselves for the end of the year when, the calves go to the sale barn or to the feedlot, and it's going to be depressed prices.
For farmers who rely on those sales for their yearly income, it means uncertainty and adjustment, not just for now, but for years.
We have to stay strong, and we have to hope that tomorrow is going to bring another ray of sunshine and everything's going to get better.
I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
A historic movie theater owner is getting creative to keep the cash coming in. How his curbside concessions help bring home movie night to life.
Six working together, working for you.
Welcome back. Even as some states say movie theaters can reopen, some smaller cinemas are worried about what the future holds. I found one owner who found a creative way to keep his business afloat. With its iconic Art Deco design and classic marquee, the Pickwick Theater is a throwback to cinema halls of yesteryear.
The theater is built in 1928. Our family has owned it since 1967. Yeah, I'll get your change.
David Loomis, co-owner of the movie house in downtown Park Ridge, Illinois, says it's been a mainstay for generations, having been renovated several times over the years.
Now we have 900 seats. It used to be originally in 1928, 1,600 seats.
Since 1974, the Pickwick has been listed in the National Register of Historic Places.
It is a landmark building, so, we have some fame and fortune from that. Well, not much fortune, but fame.
For 1980s film buffs, the iconic theater's marquee and box office may look familiar. It was used in the opening sequence of At the Movies with Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert from 1982 to 1986. But for the last 2.5 months, the balcony has been closed to moviegoers, the box office idle.
It's a challenge, and people are afraid to come out, and now with the social distancing, they really can't come out.
Still, the popcorn is popping. Twice a week, the Pickwick sells it for curbside pickup.
Well, I'm glad. That's why we're here. Here you go. So we'll go home, settle down, and watch a movie.
Along with candy and other movie night must-haves.
Hey, thank you.
It's really great that they found a way that people can support them without just flat out asking for money in exchange for nothing else.
So far, the venture has been a box office success. Cars have lined up to pick up the buttery goodness the Pickwick has been offering up, minus the movie.
We have a lot of people that normally just walk in, can I just buy some popcorn? So when we did this, people are just loving it.
Thanks for doing this.
It's a testament to the power of cinema and a community coming together.
Thank you so much.
A unique way to show appreciation for healthcare workers. People are honking to say thank you. How they say coming to this parking lot helps them too. Welcome back. We like to end the rundown each day with stories that remind us of the good going on all around us. Today, communities across the country are expressing their deep gratitude for healthcare workers. They're doing so by turning on car lights and getting loud with their car horns.
Just by walking in that building, they're putting their lives at risk every day, every day.
People who are taking part say even just being in the same hospital parking lot as other people makes them feel more united with their community. Well, that's all the time we have today for Coronavirus, The Rundown. We'll see you next time. I'm Usher Qureshi. Thanks for joining us.